What's going on, my eaters? It's your boy Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew. And y'all, this week we're gonna do a question and answer, y'all. I think we did one of these episodes a while back. People sent in questions they wanted to ask a chef or an entrepreneur, and we were here to answer them for them. So we're gonna do it again. But before we get into these questions, please like, subscribe, do all the things so we can keep bringing you this content. You're wondering where we're at. We're about to go into that store right over there. Me and my little sister, we're gonna be making some kimchi tomorrow. And so we gotta get this stuff for the kimchi. That might even make its way on the channel, but yeah, so we're gonna get into these questions, y'all. We are so excited to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and let's go. All right, y'all, so we're gonna get into these questions, see what y'all want to know. I'm excited to be telling you, my insights. We've done this once before, I think, and so, Joe, what's the first question?
Do you get tired of cooking? Does it seem mundane to cook for your family?
Do I get tired of cooking? I would say I don't ever get tired of cooking. I know cooking is what I'm supposed to do. It brings me a lot of joy. It's relaxing. It helps me exercise my creative muscles. However, I will say a lot of times, our clients, our guests and what have you, they get the showstopper, the razzle dazzle, the presentation, the service, all of that. And honestly, Monday through Friday, day to day, when we cook for our family, we make sure it always tastes good. But it definitely is sometimes kind of throwing on the plate, let's just eat, feed these kids. Or the other thing is sometimes after you've cooked a lot, especially if it's been a real busy week or what have you, sometimes we just don't feel like cooking. And so in those cases, we either eat out or, again, we get the whatever we can put together real quick, and the customers and the clients, they get the razzle dazzle. So I don't ever get tired of it, but definitely there's levels. But in the same way that I can say all of that, a lot of times we start the creation process in the home. So if you want to know if something is really, really good or not, cook for your kids, small children, or cook for your friends, or at least my friends, and they'll let us know whether or not the food is good or not. So a lot of testing goes on at the house. And then sometimes, we just want to eat nice too. And so, or holidays and things like that, we step it up a bit. But hopefully that answers the question. Good question.
This next question is from Megan. She asks, what food gets you inspired the most to cook/create, and why?
Megan asks, what food gets me the most inspired? I don't know if I've ever had that question, Megan, so I appreciate it. I think my daughter has a lot of food allergies. Hopefully they're dissipating now. We're believing that that's the case, but she has a lot of food allergies. And so Gwen and I have used that as a motivating point to see how we can make sure her diet, her food, her culinary experience, even as a child, is good despite her circumstances. And I think a lot of that comes from our years of working in healthcare. Gwen still works in healthcare. A lot of times patients can't eat what everyone else can eat, either permanently or for a time. And so for years, we've just kind of focused on taking those situations and making sure that those experiences can be great for the people and the customer eating. So I love taking challenging diets and making them great. That inspires me a lot. If somebody can't have salt You know, we've done salt episodes before, and you make their food taste good and they enjoy it and they love it, or somebody can't eat. You know, there are some people who can't chew. And so you have to make sure their food is liquefied or ground up or chopped up. And so having to do that to keep them healthy and keep them safe, but also making the food an enjoyable experience is something we take a lot of pride in. And I would say Asian culture really inspires Gwen and I, just because a lot of times the chefery in Asian kitchens and the simplicity in which they prepare their dishes, and the fact that Asian cuisine doesn't use too much, if any, dairy, I think that's great. And I love being inspired by Asian cuisine. And then honestly, I just grew up on simple, wholesome food. So I'm always going to love something that, you know, is stewed, or what some would consider the lesser cuts of meat or the lesser vegetables. I love taking those things and making great as well. I think that's what inspires me.
How do you put an entire menu together, and how do you match what drinks and sides you want to go with main dishes? That question is from Aaron.
Aaron, that's a big question. And so I'm going to try to answer it best I can while driving. Joe, I might ask you to break it down for me again.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first part?
How do you put an entire menu together?
So whenever we're creating a menu, some of the first things that come to our mind are budget. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people got champagne taste and beer pockets. So the first thing we want to do is assess what the budget is. And I always tell people this, Aaron. If I ask you what your budget is as a caterer, it's not so I can sit here and figure out how to get the most money out of you possible. I ask that question, caterers ask that question simply because menu creation and event creation takes a lot of time, and we don't want to put a whole bunch of time and energy and resources into creating a menu that might say, for lack of for simple numbers, we create a menu that's $20, and for whatever reason, your circumstances, your situation, your budget, your event is only $10 a person. There's no point in me creating a menu for you for $20 a person if that's not what you're going to be able to afford at the time. So we always ask budget. And then in this day and age, we also ask a lot of time preferences and allergies. You want to keep people safe. And then we go to the service. What kind of service does that customer want? Or if it's a restaurant, what kind of service is our restaurant gonna offer? Once we have that logistical stuff figured out, then we can start meeting the customers or meeting the market's needs. We think about, you know, the vibe and the feel we want to give to the restaurant or to the menu. So those are the top considerations in creating a menu. Once you have that stuff figured out, then the next stage is really just selecting what your menu items, which is usually based off of the customer's preferences. What's the next part of the question?
Next part is, how do you match what drinks and sides you want to go with the main dish?
Okay, so for sides, I'll address that part first. Again, you go with what the customer wants. And then from the chef's perspective, I think of all menus as in the form of a balanced meal: starch, protein, and vegetable. And so as far as the sides go, I pick sides and flavors that pretty much complement and balance. You're always trying to figure out what complements each other, and you always want balance. Y'all have heard me talk about that before. You don't want, if something has cheese in it, unless cheese is the leading role, you don't want too much cheese, and you want to make sure things don't get overpowered. So hopefully that answers that part of the question. Is there one more part, Joe?
How do you match drinks?
Oh yeah, and then the drinks, when we're matching drinks, again, it's just about complementing. You know, certain things go together and certain things do not go together. So if you have a spicy dish, or you have a seafood dish, or you have a vegetable heavy dish, you want to pick beverages that complement all those things.
Next question comes from Elijah. What ignited your passion for wanting to become a chef/entrepreneur?
What ignited my passion to want to become a chef/entrepreneur? That is a multi-part response. Becoming a chef, Elijah, I actually just kind of stumbled upon it. I wasn't looking for it. It just kind of happened. I was doing a job as an appliance salesman, and I came to a point where I needed to do something else, and I didn't know what to do, quite honestly. I was in Miami. This is around 24, 25 years ago. I was in Miami trying to figure life out. My mom, just out of nowhere, came to me and asked me if I wanted to go on a tour of a culinary school. At the time, this is when Emeril Lagasse was really, really big. And she was like, this is the culinary school that Emeril went to. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go down there. And honestly, Elijah, when I went to that culinary school a few weeks later, they used my information card to give me a partial scholarship. And I just decided to go to culinary school. It just made sense. I've been cooking all my life. I was looking for something new to do. My parents opened the convenience store. I talked them into putting the kitchen in the convenience store. And that was that. So that's how I got into cooking professionally. It kind of chose me. And what was the next part?
Inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
And as far as entrepreneurship, I'm a third generation entrepreneur. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. My mom and dad were entrepreneurs. All of my siblings, there were 6 of us total, have all endeavored in the entrepreneurial thing. So entrepreneurship is just a way of life for me. That did make sense. I didn't have a choice in that, really. Yeah. And I think, let's see, I think this is the last question, Joe.
Yeah, this will be the last one. What keeps you up at night?
This is my publicist question. That's a great question. Good way to end. What keeps me up at night? For me, I think the thing that keeps me up at night, Amy, is 2 things. I'm trying to create freedom. Freedom for myself and my family, my loved ones, generational freedom. And I know that culinary, food and service, hospitality, now content creation, I know those are the things that the Lord has given me to create freedom and to create generational freedom for me and my loved ones in my life. In that, Gwen and I have been very, very blessed to have a lot of people who have come alongside of us and partnered with us to help bring this vision, what we're trying to create with Pink's Barbecue and the Eating Chambers, to fruition. The thing that keeps me up at night is anything hindering that process or not accomplishing it. When I think about wasting people's times, wasting my time, wasting my resources, wasting my family's resources and my friends and my loved ones' resources, if this doesn't work, that keeps me up. Some would argue it shouldn't. Like some would say, yo, you worry too much. But for me, I feel like, Amy, it's a check. As an entrepreneur and as a visionary, you have to make sure you keep a pulse on your people and your team at all times. And part of that is honoring them and not wasting their time. And if someone's helping you, if someone gives you money and invests in you, you have an obligation to make sure you're not wasting it. And so I'm always constantly concerned about that. So that's what keeps me up at night, Amy, just making sure I'm doing what I need to do to gain that freedom that I'm looking for me and my loved ones, and to make sure I'm stewarding people's resources properly. Great question, Amy. Thank you. All of the questions were great. So for everyone who sent us questions, we really, really, really appreciate it. As you know, we are always here to educate you, excite you, empower you into the future that you want for yourself and for your business. Please, y'all, if you like this content, even if you don't like this content, please make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things you need to do so we can keep on bringing you this content. And until next time, y'all, we are gone. But before we leave, please make sure you check out our homeboys, Chuck and John, their podcast available on all podcast streaming platforms. Last Night's Coffee with Chuck and John. Great content. Great guys. And until next time, y'all, we are gone.